Road trips can either be a great adventure or your worst nightmare, depending on where you're heading and who's traveling with you. Sometimes you pass by a location that later on becomes a place you often revisit. And sometimes you end up lost in a neighborhood that ends with your car breaking down and you freezing your ass off waiting for the tow truck. Either way, most of us have gone on a long journey across the highways or byways, for one reason or another. Before we begin, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. With that being said, I'm your host, Jamie, and here are 10 fantastic road trip movies. Number 1. Road Trip. Director Todd Phillips' first comedy outing, 2000's Road Trip was a solid start. The late 90s resurgence of the teen comedy was propelled by coming-of-age millennials, as well as ones who probably shouldn't have been watching those films at the time, like me. Road Trip was definitely a product of its time with its aggressively 90s cast, juvenile crude humor, and jokes amid more at stereotypes than actually being clever. That being said, there was enough genuine sentiment, character likability, and laugh-out-loud moments to make Road Trip a fun watch, especially at the time. Granted, it derives much of its narrative from many other road trip films. However, forcing a motley crew of characters whose personalities clash into a car together and throwing every obstacle at them has proven pretty effective in the genre. What drives the plot, no pun intended, is Road Trip is that the protagonist, played by Breckin Meyer, has to prevent his long-distance girlfriend from seeing a VHS tape he accidentally sent her. But see the whole story over on Pluto, Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 2. Thelma and Louise. The 80s and 90s belonged to prolific producer Jerry Bruckheimer. His sleek, polished aesthetic and scope are signature of an era. 1992's Thelma and Louise encompasses Bruckheimer's style, who often worked with director Ridley Scott to create such cinematic synergy. Top Gun is arguably the most notable of their efforts together. Even beyond the surface level, Thelma and Louise is a well-crafted woman-on-the-run drama. It is effective because of the sizzling screen presence and visceral performances of its iconic actresses, Gina Davis and Susan Sarandon. I'm a fan of female rage, which is too often justifiable. Thelma and Louise keeps its energy up with high-stakes action and sticks the landing with one of the most iconic chase scenes and endings. Enjoy this adventure on Tubi, Pluto, Roku, MGM Plus, Sling, Prime, Billo, Fandango, Google Play, or Apple TV. Number 3. Easy Rider. 1969's Easy Rider is a zeitgeist for the 60s counterculture. The film stars Dennis Hopper and Peter Fonda as hippie motorcyclists on a road trip across country. Both actors are also credited as writers, too. The open landscape shots are gorgeous and very in the vein of John Ford westerns. However, the transition shots are very distinct and jarring even early on. The various shots grow tighter, more intimate, and erratic as the film progresses. Mind you, these choices are all very deliberate as they highlight the film's darker themes and convey the polarizing nature of the 60s. During the protagonist's road trip, they meet up with George Hansen, played by Jack Nicholson. His character adds a whole new dynamic to their group as he plays an inebriated lawyer. The quieter moments of the film are filled with philosophical and political discussions. Easy Rider is ultimately an existential film, despite the beautiful imagery of the road and land, as well as the often soulful rock soundtrack. There is a lot of shots that evoke discomfort, and there are many sequences that are bluntly disturbing. All the juxtaposition in the aesthetics and the narrative is reflected on the turbulence of the 60s. So take some time to enjoy this classic on Prime, Sling, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 4. Little Miss Sunshine. Little Miss Sunshine is absolutely fucking fantastic. The story revolves around the Hoover family, each on their own personal journey. They take a road trip because the youngest, played by Abigail Breslin, was qualified to participate in a beauty contest. The humor in Little Miss Sunshine is mostly born from clashing character quirks and dysfunctional family dynamics, but it feels more organic than farcical. The late Alan Arkin, for example, plays the grandpa with no filter. While he provides plenty of comedic relief, he often sidesteps cliché and also drops plenty of powerful truth bombs. The character arcs are beautiful in Little Miss Sunshine, and the entire cast provides powerhouse performances. One scene in particular, with Paul Dano as Dwayne Hoover having a breakdown, remains burned in my psyche. Dano has always been an actor to watch. He's an acting tour de force that's due for an Oscar. Speaking of Oscars, Little Miss Sunshine was nominated for several Oscars in 2006, including Best Picture, but ultimately lost to The Departed. Regardless of this, Little Miss Sunshine is a poignant, hilarious, and powerful must-see road film. Check it out on Google Play, Prime, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 5. Almost Famous. Almost Famous is director Cameron Crowe's semi-biographical coming-of-age dramedy. The film follows a music-obsessed prodigal 15-year-old boy's journey with the famous band Stillwater, a fictional band made for the film allegedly based on several different rock bands that Crowe met. Almost Famous is a love letter to music, particularly 70s rock. Although it is a sentimental coming-of-age affair, it is not without its criticism of the rock and roll culture. The film does a pretty good job of not demonizing rock and roll or the religious types who are against it. If I'm to be perfectly candid, I never thought of Almost Famous as a road film, even though it quite literally is about being on the road with a band. It just resembles more of a biopic about famous bands, so the viewer, maybe it's just me, can easily forget that. The film is really about the music and the journey it takes the wonderful cast of characters on. And this may go without saying, but the soundtrack is superb. I highly recommend Almost Famous to music and movie lovers alike. If you're in a band, this film may just be your jam. Let me know what you think after you check this out on MGM Plus, Paramount Plus, Sling, Roku, Prime, Philo, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out our channel. We hope that you're enjoying all of our content. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Don't forget to ring that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. If you want to support us even further, there are numerous ways. First, check out fatninja.shop, our very own merch store where we sell t-shirts, hoodies, hats, shoes, and more, featuring our logo and other designs. You can also join our Patreon, linked in the video description. Last but not least, we have officially launched the YouTube membership program. At only $4.99 a month, you'll get access to our monthly newsletter featuring reviews, previews, and exclusive behind-the-scenes information about our upcoming projects and videos. You also get a nifty little badge and special emojis that you can use during our upcoming live stream chats. And if you're a member of our Discord channel, you'll get access to a special role which gives you even better access to the Fat Ninja staff and the chance to enter a monthly prize drawing as well as a shout-out at the end of our videos. The prize drawings will only begin once we have reached our goal of 50 members. Finally, you'll also be gifted a special coupon code good for 20% off any item from our store. We appreciate each and every one of you and are incredibly thankful for your support. Each new subscriber and member helps us achieve our goals and keeps us motivated to create new content each week. Thanks again. Take care.
Number 6. Zombieland. Zombieland came out in 2009, only a year before The Walking Dead walkers invaded a record number of TV screens. The film stood out at the time for its action-comedy take on zombies, as well as its narrative following many of the basic structures of a road movie. 15 years ago, it ended its theatrical run with $75 million domestically, making it the highest grossing zombie film until World War Z came out. Zombieland's crisp script and stellar cast of soon-to-be or already Oscar nominees makes for a hilarious hell of a ride. The road movie within Zombieland is as prominent as the zombie action itself, and the film in general took a creative way to go about the subgenre. Tallahassee, played by Woody Harrelson, is first seen driving a modded Cadillac Escalade, and it is used as a plot device. The motley crew of protagonists are on the road to a zombie safe haven for most of the film, running into plenty of zombie antics along the way. If you're looking for a horror film, an action film, a love story, and a road movie, then Zombieland is the perfect film for you. Check it out on Netflix, Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime. Number 7. National Lampoon's Vacation. Audiences were introduced to the Griswold family in the seminal entry of National Lampoon's Vacation series, simply titled National Lampoon's Vacation. The film is led by SNL alum Chevy Chase. Whatever your feelings you may have about Chase, he is a comedic genius. His timing, delivery, execution, and facial expressions could squeeze a laugh out of even the weakest of jokes. Luckily, Vacation has plenty of great one-liners and bits. It stands in the tradition of screwball comedies, only it's on the road. It's a second film as director for Harold Ramis, who went on to direct other great comedies such as Groundhog Day and Year One. While Vacation isn't as nuanced in its portrayal of family dynamics as, say, Little Miss Sunshine, a lot of the humor and relatability still arises from that element. Even aside from the antics, there's a lot of heart, which should come as no surprise as it was penned by 80s comedy legend John Hughes. So take some time to enjoy this over on Prime, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 8. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty, based on an old short story by James Thurber, is an underrated gem from director Ben Stiller, who also directed acclaimed controversial comedy Tropic Thunder. The Secret Life of Walter Mitty has big ideas, but still felt personal because it was a passion project of Stiller's, who also starred as the titular character, Walter Mitty. I was actually hooked on this film since the superb first trailer dropped back in 2013, brilliantly utilizing the song Dirty Paws by Of Monsters and Men. In The Secret Life of Walter Mitty works for a magazine and becomes bored with the mundanity of his life. The story trope, I'd argue, is so common that it's really more of a motif that it is constantly being explored in all different kinds of stories. Walter happens to have vivid, chronic daydreams and eventually decides to make those a reality. I cannot stress how brilliantly acted and beautifully shot The Secret Life of Walter Mitty is. The film also strikes quite the sentimental chord. The first time I watched it was with a close friend and had us both feeling something ethereal. So check it out on Google Play, Apple TV, Fandango, or Prime. Number 9. Chef. Director Jon Favreau is one of the best living directors that goes under the radar. He's responsible for many iconic hits, but you may not know it because of his versatility. His resumes include Elf, Iron Man, the 2016 live-action Jungle Book, and critical smash series The Mandalorian. One of his films that is just as acclaimed but was a much smaller hit, 2016's Chef. Another close friend of mine has worked at restaurants his whole life and even attended culinary school, and this is one of his favorite films. Chef also stars director Jon Favreau as the lead, a chef named Carl Casper. Carl is pushed to his limit by his boss, played by acting veteran Dustin Hoffman. Carl assembles a team of food workers, leaves his city, and starts a food truck. Chef is funny, it's dark, it's emotional. At its core, the film is about rediscovering your passion. Chef does it so authentically you can't help but feel inspired. One of the best parts, at least for me, is there is a visceral love for cooking on display. The camera adores the delicious cuisine and culinary arts of Chef. Come to think of it, the thought of the film is actually making me hungry. So go grab a bite and check it out on Starz, Hulu, Sling, Roku, Prime, Billo, Google Play, Apple TV, or Fandango. Number 10. My Own Private Idaho. 1991's My Own Private Idaho is one of the first films of the new queer cinema movement that was happening in the 90s independent cinema. The term was coined by B. Ruby Rich. New queer cinema simply refers to a particular film movement in the 90s that involved the voices of a new generation of queer filmmakers. My Own Private Idaho's writer-director Gus Van Sant is a gay man and poignant figure in the new queer cinema movement. He would eventually reach commercial success with his critical darling, Best Picture nominated, Good Will Hunting. My Own Private Idaho involves two friends. One is played by everyone's favorite A-lister, Keanu Reeves, and the other is played by the late River Phoenix, a silver screen talent we lost too soon. These two friends are on not just a literal road trip, but their own existential journeys. Upon writing this list, I've learned that this is a common theme explored in road films in particular. Their journey primarily involves dealing with sexual identity. The term My Own Private Idaho refers to an imaginary place where one is free to be loved. There are several instances in the film in which open roads and sprawling vistas are used to evoke a space outside of the realities of everyday. My Own Private Idaho is said to be a loose adaptation on Shakespeare's Henry V, which I'm not going to elaborate on because I've never read it, but you can check out this film on Prime, Apple TV, Google Play, or Fandango. Thanks for checking out the video. Did we leave any films off the list? Let us know in the comments. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to tap that bell icon to stay up to date with our latest releases. You can reach out to us on Twitter or X at StudiosFat, or chat with us on Discord, linked below. If you're really enjoying our content and want to help support us, click that join button for exclusive content, rewards, and perks. Make sure to check out our very own merch store located at fatninja.shop. All proceeds go towards our next film project, so we'd greatly appreciate it. I've been your host, Jamie. Thanks again. See you in the next one.